Okay. So you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yes, yes.
Everyone. So today I'll give you some guidance and some tips regarding.
Okay. So performance testing overview, like I have mentioned, these all points we will be covering in this, right? Why do we need it? Requirements, what all questions we need to ask from client or from business to start it, and how to test different types of performance testing.
A brief introduction regarding this.
Okay. So why it is important? Anybody can tell me, what do you think from a layman perspective, whenever you use any application, either a mobile app or any application on desktop, why do you think performance testing is necessary? Anybody, any point if you want to add?
Yeah, mostly it is related to the capacity in a layman terms. If you can tell it, it's a capacity or the number of people your server can hold. Uh, when you're doing manual testing or automation testing, there are like scripts running or manual person, 4-5 people working. So they mostly focus on the functionality aspect. Look at this functionality is working fine. This scenario is working fine. My output is good, but that's good. That makes your application interactive. But you are just 4-5 people using it. When it will go live in public and thousands of people are using it, they might also say, yeah, it's a good functionality, but is your server capable of handling that much of load?
Right.
So for that, we are doing performance testing to evaluate how fast our system is.
Right. So yes, from both the application perspective. So let's talk about at both the levels, from infra level as well as application level. So before starting it, just imagine you are using an application, okay, and what all things you want it to have. For example, Amazon, Flipkart, Paytm, these all things you are using frequently, right? So what do you want? You want the UI is good, like you have mentioned, Sandeep, right? The functionality is fine, it is user friendly, but from non-functional perspective, you want it to respond very quickly, right? Now, because of internet penetration, so many mobile apps we are using, so one thing we need is we want response time as quick as possible, right? So that's why performance testing is required, right? Now let's talk about any big billion day sale on Flipkart or Amazon, right? So what happens? Uncertain amount of users will be logged into the system. So to identify the bottlenecks an application can face during that situation, performance testing is required. So let us talk about at both the levels. Infra level means where your application is hosted, right? So you have some CPU memory of your system that should be adequate, okay? It Whenever you hit your maximum user load, CPU and memory should not cross the acceptable range. And in most of the cases, 70 to 75% is the acceptable range, right? And the other very important point is the network latency, right? Now let us say whenever you open Google, right? So it will automatically redirect your request to the google.co.in, right? So network and infra, CPU and memory comes under infrastructure level. Now application level, so behavior at load, how the application behave at various load condition, right? So your application can handle 50 user load. What happen if at any point of time there are 60 user on your system? Will your application will be able to handle that, right? Identify bottlenecks and quality from users perspective. Now this is very important. So always think of an application from an end user perspective. Whatever application you are testing upon, always keep yourself in the end user shoes. So and think like how the user wants to have this application, right? So you will be able to create a good scenarios, good test cases, and you can identify the bottlenecks, and you can deliver the good quality product in terms of performance testing. Okay, so those are few of the points, the need or the importance of performance testing. Now let us talk about non-functional requirements. Okay, non-functional requirements are nothing but in case of, performance, like whenever you have been given an application, okay, now let's say it is an old application, it's already in the production, right? So how to test it? There are, some questions you need to ask from business, you need to ask from your client, right? And it is always better to ask questions than to, do the testing in a wrong way. Okay, for example, most of the mistakes that, in my career as well, that we used to have in early stages, the test data or the environment issues, right? Either we are testing, just give me a minute, somebody is joining. Yeah, so either we are not testing at the right environment, or we are not using the right test data. So this is very important. Okay, so common thing, right? Common mistakes. So always apply common sense. That means always, like I am reiterating this because this is very, very important. Always think your application whenever you are going to test is think from a end user perspective. Okay, for example, you are going to test a Flipkart, or you are going to test Paytm. So as a user of that application, how you want to perform, right? How many actions you perform on a daily basis, and what all actions are frequently used actions, right? So all these things keep in your mind, right? Now whenever you ask for user load, right, always check the peak user load. Okay, now let's say Flipkart has millions of users, millions of users in India, and Amazon has millions of users across the globe. But are they going to do performance testing with that many users? The answer is no, right? So what we need to find is peak our user load. So there is a certain amount of time, certain duration of time wherein the users are maximum on the system. For example, you can say on weekends there will be more content consumption on Netflix, right? On festive season there will be more hits on e-commerce websites, because there are so many sales, people are buying so many products. So that duration will give you peak hour user load. Okay, no doubt there are millions of registered user with that application, but all are not performing some operations at the same time, right? Now this gives us different types of users. The first is registered users. Okay, so registered users are all the users who are having some account with some application. Then we have concurrent user. Concurrent users are those who are performing some actions on application, but different actions. For example, you are searching some product, I am doing payment on that application, somebody else is login, right? So all these operations are different, but still the users are onto the system. So those users are called concurrent users. You can make point of it, you can note it, or else I'm also recording this, so you can make use of that. And the third thing is simultaneous user. Okay, so as the name suggests, all the user performing same actions at the same time. For example, you and me logging at the same time, so we will be called as simultaneous user. So for performance testing, consider concurrent user as your peak hour user load test. Okay, now the another question you need to ask from business or from client, how much transactions per hour they require, right? For example, in UI applications, TPH may be lower and the users login are higher, but for APIs the TPH is higher, because API, the main reason of building an API, of developing and creating APIs, to have the response time faster, and to create APIs for those cases which you need, to hit many times, right? So for APIs, your users can be less, but TPH is always higher. And for UI, your users may be higher, but TPH is, considerable lower. And then another question you should ask, what are the response time, SLA, which we called as service level agreement. Now every transactions may not have the same SLA, right? Some transactions have 10-second, 5-second, or I mean different SLA. So this thing you need to make sure with your client. Yeah, Piyush, please go ahead.
Yes, Rahul. So when you mentioned transaction per hour, so how we calculate transaction per hour?
See, if the application is old, I mean, it is already in the production, you can get those data from the production logs, right? Again, what you need to check? You need to check the peak hour load condition. Like I have given you an example of e-commerce. During festive season, you can check out that production loads, okay, for October or November season, how many, transactions are there on the system. Or if you, monitor it for whole 4, 5 or 6 months, you can get that. But suppose if your application is new, okay, you don't have any logs, then you can just analyze again. I mean, apply your common sense, check what the end user will going to, how it going to behave on that particular application. And you can also analyze your competitors in that case. For example, you are, again, I'm giving you same example. Suppose you are launching an e-commerce website, right? So what you have realized is there are more sales on the weekends, or suppose you are launching some ticket booking website, right? So you can analyze that, right? On weekends there are more ticket will be booked as compared to weekdays, right? So in that, I mean, using that approach, you can calculate TPH, transactions per hour. So it's all about, I mean, always keep yourself at the end user, from the end user perspective. Think from the end user perspective. Yeah.
Yes, Rahul, I'm clear now.
Yeah. Any question from anyone?
Yeah, what about the new application that has not yet gone live? Because
Yeah.
I have also faced this problem that some clients are not that much techy. So if you ask them these questions, they say, "Oh, I don't know. You can suggest me something that how much my configuration should be." Kind of that.
Right. So first of all, what kind of application it is? Okay. So you can analyze the competitors. Okay. Again, it's of course you are not going to get the exact logs from your competitors, but suppose again I have given what kind of application you worked upon. So let's come to that.
Mine was the e-commerce.
E-commerce.
Yes, yes.
So what kind of products they are selling on that application?
They were selling spare parts of two-wheelers.
Spare parts of two-wheelers. Okay. So and I mean, where it is based? Location
UK.
wise?
UK.
Okay.
They are operating in whole of Europe, but yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
So,
but
yeah. So again, like I have mentioned, right? So there will be some applications already, on the production, or people are using the competitors. You can analyze that trend. Okay. So that you can get from Google. I mean, how that trend is going on in the market, how the spare parts business is going on, right? So
correct.
using that trend, you can calculate your TPH. Okay. For example, this is a very easy example that I am giving. In festive season, we all know there will be more sales, right? And in spare parts, you can, I don't know how it works in UK, but you can take it in that sense. For example, in harsh winter conditions, the spare part demand is more as compared to normal condition, because you will be expecting more breakdown during harsh winter condition, right? So in that case, I mean, you can analyze your TPH.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Okay. So now how to identify potential scenarios? Because see, this is performance testing is a part of non-functional testing, okay, wherein we are not at all bothered about functionality of the system. So one of the prerequisite of performance testing, you should have a functionally stable code. Okay. And what will be the potential scenarios for performance testing? How to identify? Now you have an application, like you said, you have spare part related e-commerce website. So there are so many pages, so many buttons, so many clicks. How will you identify what are the potential scenarios, right? So the first thing is, what all are mission critical, right? So like login, payment, these are mission critical. user cannot just wait after, click on submit button or click on sign in button. He want his, his credentials as quickly login as possible, right? Similarly for payment, whenever you doing any payment, you want your, response as quick as possible, because it is a very critical uh, transaction, right? So this is a potential scenario for performance testing. Now the second thing you can check frequently used, right? Like scan button on Paytm. So whenever you open Paytm, most of the time people open Paytm to first click is on scan button, correct? So that is a frequently used transaction. Now the third potential scenario could be that fetches significant volume of data. So whenever you do search query on e-commerce, right? For example, you are opening Flipkart and you are searching for some mobile, right? Now all this thing needs to be considered. Mobile search is more as compared to laptop search, right? So that doesn't mean laptop search you will ignore that, but you do more transactions per hour in case of mobile searches, right? I'm making sense?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that thing,
yeah.
yeah, that thing you need to consider. So these three are the main points to consider your scenarios for performance testing: mission critical, frequently used, and that fetches significant volume of data. Okay, any questions here?
I'm good.
I'm also good.
No from my end.
Okay,
A brief
yeah,
introduction.
so now how to execute performance test? So there are two ways. The first is manual and the other is using tools. So manual is possible only if you have, 5-10 number of user, but that is again, I mean, not a possible case in this era, at least. So it's still not feasible and it's highly expensive, right? So you will not make your 10 employees sit and, doing the same thing again and again. So that's why test tools came into picture. Now again, under that we have so many options available. We have paid tools like LoadRunner is an industry standard tool and it is a paid tool. You can use 50 user in free using community edition, but again that community edition is not, recommended for industrial use or commercial purpose. So you can learn LoadRunner using community edition, but for using commercial purpose, it is not recommended. And then you have open source like JMeter. It can be used for n number of users and it is an open source and widely recognized in the industry, right? Now once you have tested your application using this tool and you have your numbers now, okay, you have your response time with you now what to do next? Now if you report your results to the client, now they will ask, okay, it has breached the SLA. Instead of 10 seconds it is taking 15 seconds. Now what should I do, right? So what will be the next step? And it is a very important thing. I mean, the whole performance testing cycle is not complete without it. That is a monitoring part. Okay, now the servers where your application is hosted, that either could be Windows, Linux or Unix, right? Now there are many free tools available like perf in Windows. You can just open perf and start monitoring your CPU and memory. And for Linux, you can use these free commands, and also you can configure some tools like App Dynamics, New Relic. These are paid tools, but they provide, trial for 15 days, so you can check them. So this will help you drill down the issue. For example, you are getting higher response time. Now you want to check where exactly is the problem, right? So these tools will help you in that, right? Now using test tools, see, our purpose is to simulate the user load, okay, and which is not possible manually. So the test tool is generating user that we called as virtual users, right? There will be an actual load on the system, but it is simulated from a tool. So you need to make sure whatever machine you are using to generate that tool, that is, capable enough or have sufficient memory to generate sufficient amount of users. Okay, and when you generate that much of user, there will be so many different inputs, user inputs, that needs to be parameterized. Also, most of the people here, I think they are from automation, so parameterization is you understand. But here in performance testing, we play with HTTP requests, right? So like in automation, you capture some XPath, right, and to identify the objects, and you automate your scripts using Selenium. So in this case, you capture the dynamic values from HTTP request or the post body. Okay, so dynamic value is like, let's say Sandeep is logged into any application, and when he click on sign in button, he's getting some session ID from the server. Now that session ID is dynamic. It will change if Rahul will log in, it will change if Piyush will log in, and it will change if the same person will log in second time, right? So those are dynamic values. These needs to be captured from the server. I'm planning to have another session to give you tool usage of JMeter, so you can attend that and make uh, correlation, how it works and how it helps in designing test scenarios. But for theoretical purpose, you need to understand parameterization and correlation are the most important things while designing your test script. Okay, yeah, Piyush, any question?
Yes, sir. So this parameterization and correlation comes under after we recorded the script, right?
Yes, after you recorded your script, it is a part of script enhancement.
So while recording the scripts, also there are multiple. I saw that while recording the through the Blaze meter and through the J meter, right? So what is the difference when we recorded through the Blaze meter and we recorded through the non-test element?
In terms of HTTP request, there should be no difference. Okay, you need to make sure there is no other website other than your application should be open on your browser. Otherwise, the whole traffic from other tabs will also captured in your tool. Are you facing any difference in terms of post data, or I mean the request body?
No, but I saw some. See, if we recorded through the non-test element, there are n numbers of there are so many test data will come. But while using the Blaze meter, there are very less number of non-test elements coming.
Okay, so there are settings in JMeter, right? Whether you want to capture some static contents or not. Okay, so that we need to check. It may be disallowing those while recording in JMeter. Yeah,
So this one is
we can
basic
check that.
knowledge.
Yeah, we can check that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the basic, right? How to execute performance test. Like manually it is not feasible, you need to use test tool, and then after having your result, monitoring is very important. I mean the next thing, and it helps you to drill down the actual issue in your application, right?
A brief
Yeah,
introduction.
so different types of performance testing. So we have load testing, right? Load testing and stress testing. In English language, these words seems to be similar, right? हम ऐसे I mean मजाक में भी बोलते हैं, ज्यादा लोड मत ले, ज्यादा स्ट्रेस मत डाल. But in performance testing terminology, these are different. Load testing means you already aware of the load, right? You have anticipated load with you. Client has given you like there will be 100 maximum user on peak condition, and you are running your test with that, right? And stress testing, you are intentionally going beyond your anticipated load. You want to know the breakpoint of your application, right? So that is stress testing. Okay, and stress testing helps you to in scalability testing as well. So scalability, whenever you have you come to know there should be more servers, or there should be higher RAM, so that thing can be identified using stress testing. Endurance testing, you run your test for longer duration. Now again, it depends upon the type of the application. Longer duration means how much long. For example, there is a bank application and bank employees are using that application, so the maximum duration of that application is 8 hours or 9 hours max, right? So the business day. So endurance testing will, you will run for 8 to 9 hours. But for some applications which, you know, end user are using, so their usage is 24/7, right? For in that case, your endurance testing will be will go beyond 8 to 10 hours, right? So it helps you to identify the memory leaks, right? So memory leaks, it's easy to, you know, just tell you in theory, but whenever you see your graphs in of your memory consumption just going in an upward manner, okay, so that means there are some memory leaks. Okay, so consumption is going on higher and higher, and you are not getting any garbage collection happening onto the system. That's why you are not seeing any memory released from the system. So in that case, you can identify there are memory leaks. Okay, another important type of performance testing is volume testing, where significant data you want to test. I'll give you an example here, like reconciliation. Reconciliation means in banks, right? Whenever you do payment, for example, UPI you are using, you the amount get debit from your account and it will credit it to the beneficiary account, right? But at the end of the day, all the, you know, transactions will be reconciled, right? So at the bank side, they run I mean 2 to 3 settlement cycles just to verify whether the number of transactions done from your end and the number of transactions, you know, received at their end are matching, and the amount of the money debited and the amount of the money credited, are they matching? So these are reconciliation on a high level. So that includes very high volume of data, right? So that also comes under performance testing. And then another one, spike testing, as the name itself suggests, whenever there are some spike, you know, you are expecting, for example, uh, again,
Big billion days.
yeah, big billion day sale, or else, you know, weekend Netflix usage, so there will be always spike on weekend, right? Content consumption will be increase on weekend, so all these comes under spike testing. Yeah, so any question, anything you want to ask till here, or anything you want to add from your end, please feel free.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, and also, I mean, whenever, you know, whenever client ask or somebody ask what is the importance, like, right? So if you are if somebody is not satisfied with the one application, for example, you are using Flipkart and you are not satisfied with the performance, so you will start using Amazon, right? So the loss of one is the gain for other. So it's a double loss in today's world, right? It's so much competition and so much other constraints, so everybody has to, you know, be at the par in terms of not only functional things, not only from UI perspective, but also from performance perspective.
Yes, Rahul, this is Piyush. So
Yeah, Piyush.
suppose that a client is asking us, okay, which type for this is the application and which type of testing you suggested to check the behavior of the application. So which test is good? Load, stress, endurance, which one?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good question. Basically, see, just make a thumb rule. Load testing you are going to perform in any case. Okay, so load testing is something to test your application at the anticipated load, so that has to be done, right? Now stress testing, if you are expecting, you know, in coming months or in coming years, you are expecting a huge significant increase in the users. For example, there is a new game launch by a company, right? And it is, they are already overwhelmed by the users, by the response, right? So they can expect, you know, in coming 2 to 3 years more young player will be added, right? So in that case, stress testing is also required, right? So endurance testing in all the applications which is, you know, used for longer durations, like I have given you a banking application which is used by an employee. a bank employee. So a bank employee will keep on using that application for 8 hours continuously. So in that case, endurance testing is required. Making sense?
So
Piyush?
yes, yes. So we can suggest that, okay, after doing the load testing, we can do the endurance testing.
Yes, first step will be the load testing. Yes, next you can do endurance testing. But again, I mean, for how long, it depends upon the application.
Yes, that's fine. Okay, thank you.
Now stress testing will help you to check the scalability, right? Like I have given you, and now there are so many things, I mean, like Instagram, YouTube. So we all know when these young people, you know, kids, they will grow, they are going to be on these applications, right? So for them, stress testing is very much required. So they want to make sure if every year they are expecting a significant increase in user, they want to make sure their systems are stable and they can, you know, cope up or handle that much load.
So assume that our application supports only 1,000 users,
Uh-huh.
and we are increasing the load of 1,200 users. So in that case, we are checking the breakpoint of the application. For that purpose, we can use the stress testing.
Right.
So in that, we can set duration also, like half an hour, 1 hour.
See,
or 2
duration
hours.
will, for stress testing, duration will go until you find the breakpoint. Okay, until you find your application start behaving abnormally. Okay, till that point you will keep on testing it.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, any
Thank you,
other, yeah, any other question from anyone, or anyone want to add anything?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, so these are my
Brief
contact
introduction regarding this
these are my contact details, right? So you can connect me on, you are already connected with me on LinkedIn, and this is my personal email ID and phone number. If you have face any issues, you can contact me. Okay, and I'll upload this probably on YouTube, this recorded session. Okay, if anybody wants to go through, and please share the feedback, how you know it helped you. And if you want another session for any performance tool, especially JMeter or load runner, we can have that next Saturday.
Just one
Yeah.
request. Yeah. Yes, Nikhil, please go ahead.
Yeah, I request you to do the next session on JMeter itself. Why? Because most of the companies are using JMeter only.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah,
It's
from
a
my
free
side, I
source,
would
right?
like to add one point, Rahul. Please conduct a session for 1 hour at least, because half an hour it's not sufficient.
ये फ्री वाला Zoom 40 मिनट का ही है यार.
So any alternative approach where we can conduct a 1 hour session, then it's good. We can get so many knowledge from you.
Yeah, I mean, what we can do is we can log in at the same link again after half an hour. That's what we can do.
I think YouTube you can do, right? You can. There is no time issue.
Okay. Okay, then it was nice connecting with you all. I hope it helped you in getting some overview about performance testing. And please feel free to connect with me if you face any issues. And we'll connect next weekend for JMeter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rahul,
sure.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for this.
Thank you so much, Rahul.
Really
Thank you so much,
productive.
Rahul.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
no problem.